Promise that you sing about me forever. Promise that you sing about me forever. Promise that you sing about me forever.
Talk about it. If you really believe and gotta talk about it. You heard about what happens when you talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about it. Like J. Cole said, let's talk about it. Now, have you been to my website, viecine.com? I do daily blogs and weekly vlogs, like the one I'm doing right now. And my vlogs are bomb.
If I do say so myself.
So please check them out at www.vieisme.com. www.vieisme.com. Also, if you don't know, I am in the process of self publishing my very first book. I am getting my life by telling my life. I am exposing abuse and trauma. I know it affects many, many people across racial lines, economic lines, generations, and I took a stand to expose my truth and hoping that it will help others share their truth. So it's kind of like a passive forward type of deal, a journey into finding yourself. So definitely check out the content I have on my website. I want you to be just as involved as I am and make this a community thing. So definitely check it out. And if you do like my content, please share as always. And if you want to support me getting my book out there faster, definitely drop a donations. And don't forget to subscribe. Alrighty, back at it again. So this video is going to be about, oh, let me first off say that I don't know, I prefer, I guess, making videos like this. It's just a whole lot less of a setup and editing is quicker and easier. So I think I'm just gonna stick to just doing voiceovers. I may go back to being on camera, but for now I like the voiceovers. So this video is going to be about lames regurgitating Fox News talking points because I've seen enough videos on YouTube about educated lames and guys who are good guys and they follow the rules and they went to college and that they got a good job and they're not out there selling rocks, they're not out there doing typical stereotypical black male stuff. So they're just the creme de la creme and they just don't understand why black women are not flocking to them and choosing them and putting them on a pedestal and whatnot. So I've seen enough videos of black men having that standpoint, and it's just funny that a lot of the talking points that they use to criticize these thugs and elevate their good guy status is the equivalent to these white supremacists, and I'll be going into why I see it in that light. Now, I was watching a video on a YouTuber, well, two YouTubers who made one channel called Thought Crimes, and they were talking about Pusha T featuring Jay-Z, Drug Dealers Anonymous, and I remember a while back that news anchor Tommy, who was coming at Beyonce for the whole Formation situation where she dropped the video Formation and she was going on her rant talking about Beyonce, your husband was a drug dealer. And that was the whole thing, and it went viral. And you know the Beehive don't play, so the Beehive went after her, stung her and her whole family up. She was on some "don't pity me, don't come after me, I'm just speaking my mind. I have that amendment, I have that right." And they actually played that clip in the song called Drug Dealers Anonymous, and Jay-Z was giving his point of view, and Pusha T, of course, is giving his point of view. And it's funny because I was never in the streets. I never lived that life, but I knew people who were in the streets. I knew people who lived that life. And I've never came across a black man or a black woman who was in the streets who did, I guess, illegal activities that said they woke up in the morning, they felt great about what they did. Like, they never felt what they did was okay. They just felt like the ends justify the means. Like, I'm trying to make money, I'm trying to provide for my family, I'm trying to set my situation up better. I've never met a drug dealer who said, you know what, I had the opportunity to go to college, I had an opportunity to make 60K a year, I turned all that down so I can slang drugs because I really want to get hit with that RICO charger. So I just found it have their own colleges. Even historically, black universities and colleges were not created by black people for black people. It has the name historically black colleges, but they were always built by white folks. And the premise was to shape black people so they can go into the white economy and white society and play their good little pet role. So even with that status or that title of a good black guy, or what it means to be within the system, is not created by black people. But let me just go into it, where I was coming from with the whole thugs versus lames thing, this debate, and why I think it is a form of, miniature white supremacy on your shoulder. You ever seen shows where there's like the good angel and the bad angel? It's like the same thing, except there's no good angel or bad angel. You just have a little white supremacist on your shoulder, on your chip. And you get indoctrinated by that from your education. You most likely you got your education from a white institution, and your vision, your labeling, your perception of what it means to be a good black person comes directly from what white people say. And I'm not trying to make it seem like dudes who slang rocks are the rebels. They're the same thing as Huey Newton, and they should have some type of special status and we should respect them. But at least what you could do is be like, I understand the system that we live in, and I understand that there are not options for all of us. We're not all going to get a college degree. We're not all going to find a position within the system, hence why unemployment is so high. So I understand that. I may not be okay with that. I might not justify that. I may not excuse that, but I understand. But with the lames, it's like, oh, no, we're not going to do that, because ultimately I have some grudge against you from 1987 because you stole my prom date, and I'm still going to be on a pissy rant about it. Though I'm 40, 50 years old, I'm always going to talk about how those men shouldn't have been chosen, and those men aren't nothing but pookies and ray-rays, and those men are just going to leave you with a baby, and those men and those men. And I'm like, what happened to brotherhood? What happened to uplifting one another? Now, like I said, drug dealers I know of, they don't do it because it's the greatest thing to do. Is a job, and you fulfill that job. They have a product that is in demand, they are selling the product. And I'm not saying it's the same thing as ice cream from an ice cream truck, but they're both products and they're both in demand, and they are supplying that demand. And you see with today, with these soccer moms and these white kids getting hooked on heroin, hooked on prescription drugs, and there's type of rehab, there's some type of drug punishment reform, and we should be sympathetic. But when it came to black addicts in the 80s, especially with the crack era, everybody was like, oh, they're just fucking fiends, and fuck these fiends and throw them in jail, they're ruining the economy, they're ruining their neighborhood, we have no sympathy for them, harsh punishments. But now there's these white kids and these white moms, all of a sudden there needs to be a second view, we need to do some type of reform. My thing is, it should go all across the board. If black folks were fucking fiends in the 80s, these soccer moms popping prescription drugs and getting high off of oxycodone, they're fucking drug addicts too, and I have no sympathy for them either. However, when it comes to black drug dealers, there are some type of benefits that come with the life. There's money, clothes, and hoes. There's cars, there's luxury things, there's shiny things. People want to stomp, people want to floss, but ultimately you don't go into it because you want to floss, you go into it because you're hungry. And I asked a person that I knew who is still somewhat in the life, I asked them personally because I wanted to get an opinion, a current opinion of what some people in the streets think like. And I'm like, if you had an opportunity to work a 9 to 5, create a 9 to 5, not necessarily get a job from the system, but even create your own 9 to 5 where you would have to pay taxes, but you would be legitimate and you wouldn't have to worry about who's on your block and who's plotting against you, and if the young bloods are hungry enough to take you out, like all that drama, all that mess, you don't have to worry about getting a bid or whatever. Would you do that? And he was like, yeah. And a lot of people feel the same way who are in the life. Like, no one wants to do greasy stuff. No one wants to worry about if they're being tracked or if they might get hit and how many years they might get. No one wants to live that life. The only people who get geeked off that are people who don't live that life and perpetrate it, i.e. video games. It's nothing to them. Whereas us as black folks, not all of us, but those who are impoverished or those who do know people in their life, this is real life to them. This is not a game. Now, when it comes to certain crimes like slinging dope and other crimes like, let's say, rape, slinging dope is a crime of economics because the world runs on money. You pay your bills with money. You buy with money. You pay your rent with money. Everything is money. So we live in, at least within Western society, we need money to survive. So you do what you gotta do so you can survive. Whereas other crimes like rape, you don't have to rape. Rape is a crime of opportunity because if you don't rape ever in your life, that's not going to negatively affect you. You're not going to be homeless. You're not going to be impoverished. You're not going to be shut down out of the economy if you don't rape. Rape is a crime of opportunity. And like I was saying about selling the product, everybody knows that drugs is dangerous. We all had that conversation, say no to drugs. If you lived in the 80s, I believe it was the whole crack is whack. Like, we all know drugs is not a good thing. However, if you choose to do drugs, that's your choice. We all know the consequences. We all know what addiction could do to you. But if that's what you want to do with your life, that's what you want to do with your life. I can't tell you yes, I can't tell you no, because we're all grown. And if you're not grown and you're a child, let's say 16, 17, you're a teenager, you want to experiment, you know right from wrong. If you choose to do so, that's on you. And I'm not sitting here necessarily blaming an addict, and I'm not sitting here necessarily judging an addict, but I am saying you're an addict by choice. Just like you're a drug dealer by choice. However, the decision is more towards economics. You lack economics in a legit way, so you're trying to do it by any means necessary, compared to a rapist who's doing it because of a crime of opportunity, because they get off on forcing someone to have sex. They get off on taking somebody else's power. They get off on abusing somebody sexually. And I say that lames have a miniature white supremacist on their shoulders just because even the status of being a lame, you didn't even create that path for you. You got that mindset through a white supremacist system. The education you're getting is from a white supremacist system. They're shaping you to be an off-brand European. They're shaping you so you could be viewed as less aggressive. You know, your blackness is obviously off-putting, but because you could speak like me, you could dress like me, you could be off pseudo like me, that I'm less afraid of you. But ultimately you can never be me because I determine your destiny. I determine what's right, what's wrong. I determine what you should want to achieve. And a lot of lames have this whole self-entitlement shit, like you are owed something. You're owed this 100K job. You're owed this trophy wife. You are owed this type of respect. And respect is not given. You earn that. You cannot demand respect. You earn that. And a lot of lames don't understand that because, like I said, they have a white miniature supremacist on their shoulder. They see themselves as pseudo-white or pseudo-right. So it's like, why aren't you choosing what I chose? Why aren't you agreeing with what I did? And it's not necessarily like getting an education is wrong. It's just if you get an education to be within the system that oppresses you and yours, then what the fuck was the point of getting an education if you're not coming back and educating the young kids in the neighborhood? You're not coming and building the neighborhood. You're not trying to show these kids another way or a better way. Then what were you doing? You're just a byproduct of white supremacy, and you're just an agent, whether you know it or not, for the system. And I think a lot of blacks who get an education, they don't realize this until they are locked out the system or they get their nigga wake up call. And that could be immediately, that could be years from now. But eventually a lot of these lanes come into consciousness or want to change their point of view is when they get their nigga wake up call. And even then it's kind of like I'm trying to change. I'm trying to show that I'm worthy. I'm trying to get into your good graces again. And I'm like, but you're going against Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray may not be the smartest person on this planet. Pookie and Ray Ray might not even understand the system of white supremacy, but they do understand that they got to make it for their own. And they understand that they're not given a chance. They're not given an opportunity. They have not been broken and shaped to be able to enter the society, enter the workplace, or enter Western society, or be viewed as the good guy. They understand off rip that they will never be the good guy. Not necessarily because they're bad, not necessarily because they are threatening. They not even be on some revolutionary conscious shit. They just understand that this system will not give them a chance, so therefore they got to get it by any means necessary, and it may mean slinging dope. But just like Jay-Z said in Drug Dealer Anonymous, he was giving down all his legit businesses now. Jay-Z owns 4040. Jay-Z owns Tidal, or partial owner. Jay-Z is doing a lot of business moves. Him and Beyonce are worth $1 billion together. So it's not just like he was over here like, oh, I'm gonna drop out of school, I'm just gonna be a drug dealer, I'm just gonna scratch my ass and just do nigga shit. No, he had a business mindset. You could say that Dame Dash helped him to get there. You could say, well, being around the record label. You could say whatever you want to say. But he's not out there doing the same typical nigga shit. And let's say Jay-Z didn't go the drug dealer right. Let's say he did go to college. Let's say he did get a good job. You think Jay-Z would have been Jay-Z that we know today? He could have been corporate until he got his nigga wake-up call. But he didn't do that. And I think a lot of people cut down dudes in the streets and dudes who don't go the good guy status because you see them as degenerates. You do see them as... And just because you get an education, a white supremacist education, does not necessarily mean that you're a good guy. Just because you can pronounce multisyllabic words and wear a suit does not necessarily mean that you were the right choice. Because you have Clarence Thomas, he should be what, the epitome of a good guy, and this guy doesn't do anything that's beneficial for black folks. And I'm not necessarily saying that every educated lame or every educated person is automatically an agent against black people. It's just what you do with that education. You have Dr. Umar Johnson, who got all this education and he's actually investing in the black community. He wants to open his own school. He is touring, he's lecturing, he's giving his all to the black community. And he would be considered an educated lame. Yet he has that respect because he didn't just go out in the suburb, get himself a white girl, drive a Beamer, and work for corporate America. But a lot of these educated folks, whether it be black men or black women, that's what they aspire to be. They aspire to get that corporate job. They aspire to make a good salary. They aspire to get a mortgage that they probably won't be able to pay off until they have grandkids. And that's the status quo of making it. And that was given to you by the system. And it was probably indoctrinated and supported by your parents. But being conscious, you would realize that all this that you were fed throughout the years is bullshit. That you don't write your own status quo. The status quo was given to you. And you have been since a itty bitty told to aspire to achieve that status quo. It's not until you get into the workplace and into the system you realize that it's depressing. It's not what it's cracked up to be. When you are told how to dress and how to speak and how to this and how to that, where people are plotting against you, where people are going to HR and complaining that you breathe weird or whatever the case may be, or you get your nigga wake up call. It's not until then you realize that, oh, maybe Pookie and Ray Ray was up to something. Maybe they had a good idea doing their own. And who knows, Pookie and Ray Ray may not continuously slang dope, and they might not continuously do illegal activities. They might want to go legit. I know a couple of people who used to do some things and now they went legit. People change. People love to give the example about Malcolm Little became Malcolm X, but we don't even give time for people to become Malcolm X. We just write them off as Malcolm Littles, and they'll always be Malcolm Littles. But just my 2 cents though. Tell me how you feel. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me with this hypocrisy within the lame and the educated lame theory? Do you believe that once you live that life, you will always be in that life, that you can never change or go legit? Let me know in the comments below. Comment, rate, subscribe as always, and do please share my vlogs wherever you share wonderful, cool things. And as always, be blessed, and I'm out.